Let's start making the decorations now. They include a bunny straps, a carrot, a small flower and a radish-shaped glowing light. First, we'll crochet the bunny. It consists of legs, body, arms and facial features. Let's start with the legs. Take out the corresponding yarn. Start with an adjustable magic ring. This is what it looks like when you finish it. Make one beginning chain. Then crochet the corresponding number of single crochets into the magic ring. When done, close the ring. Join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. The first round is complete. Move on to round 2. Make one beginning chain. Then work a SC2 in 1 into each stitch. Keep going until you finish this round. After finishing, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. Round 2 is now finished. Let's move on to round 3. Make one beginning chain. Then work this round evenly, without increasing or decreasing. When done, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. Fasten off the yarn. One leg is now complete. Use the same method for the other leg. Here, I've already finished it. Once the second leg is completed, don't cut the yarn. And that concludes the tutorial on the legs. Now, let's work on the first round of the body. Continue crocheting with the yarn tail from the leg. Chain 7. Then join to the other leg. Start from the first stitch. Work single crochets. Keep going until you complete the last stitch of this leg. Once you've completed the last stitch, then in the chain stitch between the two legs. Pick up one strand of the chain. Work a single crochet. Before working, place both legs properly. Make sure the middle chain stitches aren't twisted. Be mindful not to miss any stitches. Now, you reach the position of the other leg. At the first stitch, begin working single crochets. Continue until you complete the entire round of this leg. After completing this round on this leg, you reach the chain stitch position again between them. Pick up the remaining 2 strands from the first chain. Join with a slip stitch. And that completes the first round. Move on to round 2. Make 1 beginning chain. Work a single crochet in the same stitch. On the remaining 2 strands, continue working a single crochet in sequence. When you reach the leg section, the first stitch might be out of shape slightly. Don't miss it. Then refer to the chart. To finish crocheting rounds 3 through 16, check the number of stitches as you go. To avoid mistakes during the crocheting process, we'll use the invisible X stitch SC2 tog. It's recommended to learn how to crochet the invisible X stitch SC2 tog first, and then proceed with crocheting. Let's learn the invisible X stitch SC2 tog. Insert the hook into the front loop of the left stitch closest to you. Then insert it into the front loop of the adjacent stitch closest to you. You now have 3 loops on your hook. Place the hook above the yarn. Pull the yarn through the first 2 loops. Now, there are 2 loops left on the hook. Yarn over. Pass through the remaining 2 loops. The invisible X stitch SC2 tog is complete. Using this method to decrease the gaps between stitches will be smaller. The overall fabric appears more delicate. This is how you crochet an invisible X stitch SC2 tog. After completing round 16, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Move on to work round 17. Make 1 beginning chain. Work a slip stitch in the same stitch. Continue finishing this round. Once finished, slip stitch into the first slip stitch. Don't cut the yarn yet. You can start by stuffing the bottom with an appropriate amount of filling cotton. Don't stuff it too tightly. And that completes round 17. The tutorial for the body section is complete. Continue using the yarn from the body to crochet the head. Begin with the first round. Make 1 beginning chain. Then, work single crochets. Work them into the insertion points of the slip stitches from the previous round. As you crochet, wrap the slip stitch into the current stitch. At the single crochet position, pick up each stitch and crochet normally. Keep going until you complete this round. Once finished, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Pull tight. Round 1 is now complete. Follow the chart. Continue crocheting until you finish the remaining parts. Stuff it with an appropriate amount of filling cotton as you go. After completing the last round, leave a yarn tail about 20 centimeters long. Cut the yarn. Thread the yarn onto a sewing needle. Flatten the head. Use the whip stitch technique to sew and close the opening. Once the sewing is done, weave in the yarn tail a few more times. Cut the excess yarn tail. And thus, the head is complete. Next, we'll crochet the arms. Both arms are worked in the same way. Start with an adjustable magic ring. Crochet in rounds around the ring. All the stitches used have been demonstrated previously. Feel free to crochet independently. After you finish crocheting the arms, leave a yarn tail about 20 centimeters for sewing. Then, flatten the arm. Before sewing, stuff it with an appropriate amount of filling cotton. Sew the arms symmetrically on both sides of the body. Position the side with the slip stitch seam facing up. Align the arm with the bottom of the body at the 9th round. It should span roughly 5 rounds. There's no specific technique required, just sew securely. Follow the same steps to sew the other arm by yourself. And that concludes the tutorial on the arms. Now, let's move on to the facial features, which include the eyes, blush, ears, nose, mouth and assembly. The nose and mouth are embroidered with thread. The remaining parts need to be crocheted separately. Then, attach them to their corresponding positions. The bunny has the slip stitch seam on its body and head. We'll consider the side with the slip stitch seam as the back of the bunny's main body. The smooth side will be the front. All the facial features are worked on the front. Let's work the eyes first. Start with a foundation chain. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. Both eyes are crocheted in the same way. After finishing, don't pull the slip stitch tight. You'll need to fasten off invisibly. The technique for fastening off is the same as for the last round of the bag body. Refer to the chart and complete crocheting the eyes. Now, let's learn how to work the blush. First, take a look at the finished work. There are 2 blushes. Both start with an adjustable magic ring. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. The technique is similar to the first 2 rounds of the legs. For the final round, don't pull the slip stitch tight. You need to fasten off invisibly. The technique for fastening off is the same as for the last round of the bag body. Feel free to work on the blush on your own. Make sure to weave in the yarn tails on the right side of the fabric. Follow the chart and complete crocheting the blushes. Next, we'll crochet the ears. They consist of the outer and inner ears. Both start with a foundation chain. Crochet in rows. Once finished, sew them onto the bunny's head. The new stitches will be used are T for half double crochet and TV for HDC 2-in-1. Let me demonstrate the specific crochet technique. First, we'll crochet the left outer ear. The left and right here are distinguished by the bunny's own left and right. Begin with the foundation chain. Pick up 1 strand of the chain. Crochet the first row. Start in the 3rd chain from the hook. Work 2 half double crochets. Then, the stitches within the square brackets indicate crocheting in the same stitch. Work 1 half double crochet. And 2 single crochets. Slightly turn the work. Pick up the remaining 2 strands of each chain. Work 2 single crochets. We'll consider this row as the right side of the piece. Place a marker. Row 1 is complete. Move on to crochet row 2. Make 1 turning chain. Turn the work. Crochet 3 single crochets. Then in the next stitch, work 1 single crochet and 1 half double crochet. Continue working 3 HDC 2-in-1s. Pick up the 2 strands of the last chain. Work 1 half double crochet. Row 2 is now complete. Proceed to crochet row 3. Make 2 turning chains. These 2 chains count as 1 half double crochet. Refer to the chart to crochet the remaining part. When you finish crocheting, leave a yarn tail about 20 centimeters. Fasten off the yarn. The left outer ear is complete. Follow the chart and crochet the right outer ear. After finishing, leave a yarn tail about 20 centimeters for sewing. And that concludes the tutorial on the outer ears. Now, let's crochet the left inner ear. Start with a foundation chain. Work 1 HDC in the third chain from the hook. Then, work 1 single crochet, followed by a SC3 in 1. Gently turn your work. Pick up the remaining 2 strands of the chain. Work 1 single crochet, in the next stitch, work a HDC2 in 1. Chain 2. And work a slip stitch. Leave a yarn tail about 5 centimeters and fasten off the yarn. Weave in the yarn tails along the texture on the wrong side. Then follow the chart to crochet the right inner ear, and that concludes the tutorial on the inner ear. Now, take out your hot glue sticks. If you have a hot glue gun available, you can use it for gluing. If not, heat the hot glue stick over a flame. Try to use the inner flame. Don't heat it for too long, to prevent the hot glue stick from blackening. Then apply the glue. But don't apply too much, to maintain the aesthetics. Stick the inner ear onto the lower part of the right side of the outer ear. Right in the middle. Position the side with the notch facing downward. Since the hot glue stick dries quickly, try to stick it swiftly and accurately. Press firmly to secure. And thus, the tutorial on the ears is complete. Then, start by embroidering the nose and mouth. Take out the corresponding yarn. Cut a yarn tail about 30 centimeters long. Thread it onto a sewing needle. Between the 9th to 10th round of the head, on the middle stitch. Embroider it 3 times. After finishing, pass the yarn through the head twice. Then draw one strand from it. Thread the one strand back onto the needle. Then sew a small vertical line below the center of the nose, as the mouth. Finally, cut the excess yarn tails. And thus, the embroidery of the nose and mouth are complete. Next, let's proceed with assembly. First, attach the eyes. Place the eyepieces with their right sides facing up. Stick them onto both sides of the nose. Leave about 2 stitches apart from the nose. Feel free to complete this step. And that's how you attach the eyes. Then, place the blush pieces with their wrong sides facing up. Stick them slightly below onto both sides of the eyes. Leave a space of about 13 stitches between the 2 blushes. And that's how you attach the blushes. Finally, attach the ears. Keep the right side of the ears facing you. Align them in the middle at the top of the head. Once the position is suitable, proceed with sewing. There are no specific sewing techniques required, just sew securely. Sew the other side on your own. After finishing sewing, you can apply some glue between the 2 ears. to fix them in place. Up to this point, we've covered all the facial features. Then, let's move on to the bunny straps. Both straps are worked in the same way. Start with a foundation chain. Pick up one strand of the chain and work a row of single crochets. When done, fasten off the yarn and weave in the ends neatly. Then, take the corresponding color yarn. Pick up the remaining 2 strands of the chain. Work slip stitches along them. The number of slip stitches isn't fixed. Adjust as needed based on your work. When you encounter the single crochets, pick up the back loop only for crocheting. Keep going until you complete this round. After finishing the crocheting, proceed with an invisible fasten off. Weave in the ends on the wrong side. And thus, the bunny strap is complete. Follow the same method. Crochet the other one. After completing the crocheting, sew both ends of the straps onto the front of the bag body respectively. Between the first and second rounds, and between the 7th and 8th rounds, leave a space of 11 single crochets between the 2 straps. You can take out the bunny to check the position. Slightly inward on both sides of the bunny's body. That's the right position. And thus, the tutorial on the bunny straps is complete. Next, let's crochet the carrot. It consists of the main body and the leaves. Crochet them separately before assembling. Once done, sew the zipper in the reserved position on the main body. The main body starts with an adjustable magic ring. Slip stitch to join, then turn, and continue crocheting in rounds. Start by making the magic ring and work round 1. When finished, close the ring. Then, join with a slip stitch into the first stitch. Pull tight. Chain 1 to begin. Turn the piece. Crochet the second round. Continue until you complete this round. When done, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Round 2 is complete. Move on to crochet round 3. Chain 1 to start. Turn the piece over. Continue until you complete this round. When finished, slip stitch into the first stitch to join. Pull tight. Row 3 is now complete. After completing a certain number of rounds, then work in rows. Don't join with a slip stitch while crocheting. Leave an opening for the zipper. Finally, slip stitch to join, then turn, and crochet in rounds. They are all marked on the chart. Refer to the chart to finish crocheting the main body section. After finishing, you'll need to close up the hole. Here, we mainly focus on the closing method. Please watch the demonstration. After completing the last round, then, proceed with fastening off the yarn. Pull up the loop, leave a yarn tail about 15 centimeters, then cut it. The last round here can be crocheted a bit looser. Thread the yarn onto a sewing needle. Pick up the front loop only of each stitch from the last round, one by one. Halfway through, gently pull it tight. Be careful not to pull too hard. Continue threading through the remaining front loops only to finish. Gently pull it tight. But don't pull too hard. For the excess tail, weave it in and out a few times near the adjacent stitch. Then, insert the needle into the center of the seam and out at any point. Gently pull the yarn and press the seam flat. Weave the excess yarn tail in and out a few more times within the fabric. Cut the excess yarn tail. So we've completed closing up the hole. That concludes the tutorial on the main body. Next, let's crochet the leaves. We'll make 2 identical ones. Start with an adjustable magic ring. Make 2 beginning chains. Then work the corresponding number of double crochets. After that, chain 2. Then, slip stitch into the magic ring. close the ring. Leave a yarn tail of about 15 centimeters and fasten off the yarn. Then use the same method to crochet the second leaf. Once both leaves are completed, proceed with sewing. Flatten the main body along the zipper opening. Sew the leaves onto the last round of the main body. There's no specific technique required, just sew securely. After sewing, weave in the yarn tails inside the fabric. And thus, the sewing of one leaf is complete. Sew on the other leaf on your own. That concludes the tutorial on the leaves. Finally, sew the zipper onto the reserved position on the main body. Now, let's learn how to sew the zipper. Please note that only the method is demonstrated here. The styles of the sample and the zipper are not for reference. Secure the zipper in the middle section between stitch markers. Here, you can take out the zipper. First, let's take a look at the structure of the zipper. When closed, the end with the zipper puller is the top stop. The other end is the bottom stop. There are cloth tapes on both sides. The cloth tapes have the zipper chain attached to them. If the zipper chain is shorter than the reserved position, adjust the position of the zipper based on the actual situation. Once the position is determined, proceed with sewing. First, take out the sewing yarn. Make it slightly longer, draw one strand and thread it onto a fine needle. Tie a knot at the end of the yarn. Set it aside for later use. Position the opening towards yourself, according to your preference. Decide which end you want the zipper puller to be on. In this sample, it's placed at the beginning end. Position the bottom stop of the zipper on the side of the opening. Make sure the zipper puller is on the outside. Make sure the position is not reversed. Secure the bottom stop in place with the opening. When securing, ensure that no stitching marks are visible on the surface. Align the zipper chain with the center between the two fabric pieces. Now, unzip the zipper. Align the edge of the fabric piece roughly with the zipper chain. Begin sewing the zipper tape to one side of the fabric. Pick up strands from the inside of the fabric piece. Sew along the center of the cloth tape. While sewing, slightly pull the strand tight. Try to sew it as closely as possible. When picking up strands, try to go deep into the fabric. Make sure it's sewn securely. Note that, adjust the zipper and fabric piece while sewing. Ensure the zipper teeth align with the fabric edge. Keep the opening flat. And prevent the fabric from spreading out or drawing in. Follow this method to continue sewing. Sew once more at the end to secure. Once done, zip up the zipper. Secure both top stops to both sides of the fabric with a few stitches. Align the center of the zipper with the middle of the fabric piece. Place the zipper puller on the outside. You can sew a few more stitches for better fixation. If there's excess zipper, you can cut it with a small allowance, or you can attach the entire excess zipper to the fabric. Feel free to choose based on your preferences. If the yarn tail is still relatively long, you can go back and sew over it again to make it more secure. After finishing, tie a knot and weave in the ends. And thus, one side of the zipper is secured. The sewing method for the other side is the same. Follow the same method to take out the strand. While sewing, make sure to adjust the position as you go. You can zip up the zipper after sewing a section to prevent the two zipper parts from being sewn crookedly. Similarly, tie a knot and cut the yarn when finished. Then, complete this step by yourself. Let's take a look. This is what the swatch looks like after the zipper is sewn on. And that concludes the tutorial on the zippers. So the carrot is complete. Next, we'll crochet the small flower. Start with an adjustable magic ring. Crochet in a counterclockwise direction. Once the crocheting is complete, proceed with assembly. A new stitch will be used is E for treble crochet. The crocheting method for the first 2 rounds has been demonstrated earlier. Follow the chart to finish them. Now, let's crochet the 3rd round. Take out the corresponding color yarn. Attach it to any stitch. Chain 3. Then, work treble crochets. Here is the crochet method for a treble crochet. Yarn over twice. Then yarn over in sequence. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on your hook. Repeat this process 3 times. A treble crochet is now complete. Then work 3 more treble crochets. Chain 3. Slip stitch into the next stitch on the left. Fasten off the yarn. One petal is complete. The second petal is worked into the stitch on the left of the last slip stitch of the first petal. Each petal occupies 2 stitches. Follow the chart to finish crocheting by yourself. After finishing, weave in all the ends. Now, let's proceed with assembly. I'll demonstrate with this swatch. First, stick a rhinestone in the center of the right side of the flower. Set it aside for later use. Next, pick up the small bearing and thin wire. Secure the thin wire to the bearing. After securing, make sure the thin wire leans slightly outwards, without affecting the rotation of the bearing. Then, wrap the yarn around the wire. Take out the corresponding yarn. Draw 2 strands from it. Wrap them around about 2 centimeters. You can use glue to secure the yarn end. Then, take out a sewing needle. Thread the wire through it. Attach the bearing and the wire onto the bag flap. The position isn't fixed. You can adjust it according to your preference. Finally, pick up the small flower. Stick it onto the smooth side of the bearing. And thus, the small flower is complete. Finally, let's make the radish-shaped glowing light. It includes the radish, leaves, and decorations. Crochet each part separately first, then proceed with assembly. First, crochet the main body of the radish. Start with an adjustable magic ring. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. The stitches will be used have been demonstrated earlier. Just follow the chart for crocheting. After completing a few rounds, you need to attach the spherical light. Take out the spherical light. Thread the switch through the hole of the magic ring. This makes it easy to operate the switch. Stick the spherical light to the fabric piece. After finishing, proceed to crochet the remaining sections. Follow the chart until you finish the last round. After you finish the final round, Leave a yarn tail of about 15 centimeters. Close up the hole. The closing method is the same as that for the main body of the carrot. Finally, weave in the excess yarn tails. And thus, the main body of the radish is complete. Then, let's work on the leaves. Start with a chain ring. After that, weave in the starting chains as you crochet. Work the corresponding stitches. The technique is similar to the first round of the drawstring opening, only the stitches differ. Refer to the chart to finish crocheting on your own. After finishing, stick it to the end of the radish body with a switch. This is how it looks after sticking. Finally, let's make the decorations. Start with a foundation chain. Connect the ends to form a ring. Then, take the non-woven fabric and cut out a circle with a diameter of about 0.5 centimeters from it. I've got that ready here. First, stick the chain ring roughly in the middle of the radish body. Place the chain ring with the wrong side facing up. Then stick the circle to the center of the chain ring. Take out the steel wire ring. Thread it through the leaf. Then, pass the string through the ring. Next, attach the completed growing light to the bag. You can adjust the position according to your preferences. So, the radish-shaped growing light is complete. And that concludes the tutorial on the entire bag. If you have any questions during the process, don't hesitate to reach us via our website. Susan's Family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.